Thank you.
Hang on a second. It's a problem starting save recording. Well, it looks like it's recording.
It just started recording?
I think so.
Okay, so since we just started recording, I'll just review that we called the meeting to order at 7:10 and we've adopted the agenda and approved the January minutes. Planning calendar. Kim is working on the state report for us. I moved sending scholarship applications ahead a month this year just because I feel like we kind of in the past have gotten them out to the schools a little late. I know the high school already has a list of scholarships going for kids to start applying, so
yeah, I actually just got paperwork for New Lebanon too, so for there, they want to know what we're going to do, so I'll get that out to them.
Charter Day is coming up. We've kind of talked in the past about possibly doing something for Charter Day and Founders Day. I'm not sure anybody's interested in a virtual Charter Day event, but maybe we can make a little Facebook post about it or something.
That's also the Library Advocacy Day, I believe.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to put that on the schedule. Thank you. And Rebecca can talk about this later, but we're going to start preparing for some kind of take-home Easter event in lieu of an in-person event this year. And I wanted to look ahead and decide on a date for our annual meeting. It seems like we're just going to need to do something virtual again this year. I don't know, do you guys think possibly pushing it back a couple months we could meet in person, or should we just plan a virtual one in April?
I would just plan the April one because it seems like we're just going to keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. So
yeah, that's what happened last year. We ended up having a virtual.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So I know there's one conflict with the April 25th date that I originally suggested. Are you guys available on Sunday, April 18th?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
when is school vacation this year, or the spring break?
First week in April.
Yep.
First week in April?
Really early, yeah.
It's always the week after Easter.
Easter's the 5th, I think. It's early.
Yep.
And do those meetings typically fall on weekends as opposed to weeknights?
We've always done the annual meeting on a Sunday because we usually do it in person and invite people to come to the library and have a dinner afterwards and stuff. So that, of course, won't be happening this year, but so it's possible that we could do it on another day of the week. Sunday is just when we've normally done it. What do you guys think is a good time? Normally we start kind of like late afternoonish, but having a virtual one, we could really do it anytime.
How about 6 o'clock? Or
That works for me.
Fine for me.
bad?
So this is 6 o'clock on the 18th of April?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this would be a 2-hour meeting?
I don't think they're usually that long.
Yeah, the annual meeting is usually the meeting part is usually much shorter. In the past, we've done different things to attract people to come. Like our last in-person one that we had, we thanked our volunteers so that we actually had people come to the meeting. A lot of our volunteers are high school kids, so the students and their families came, and we get a handful of community members, and the staff sometimes come. So thanking everybody took some time, but the actual meeting part is much shorter than our regular board meetings. We kind of do an overview of what's happened for the year and voting on either members who are up for their trustees who are up for their second term or voting on new board members.
Got it. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. So weekends are typically difficult for me because that's the only time my husband is here. He lives in New Hampshire during the week. So if it's going to be an hour-long meeting, I can definitely do it. Longer meetings on the weekend, I probably won't be able to participate in.
I don't expect it to go very long this year, unless somebody has an exciting idea to try to get people to come to our virtual annual meeting.
Well, I hesitate to offer a suggestion because maybe we don't want it to be longer, but is there anything we want to do to like thank teachers or like first responders or, healthcare, anything like that that we would want to incorporate in to try to acknowledge the previous year's challenges? I'm not going to do a hard sell on that. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know that would attract anybody, but it's not a bad thing to do. It wouldn't take more than 5 minutes a block or 5 minutes for teachers, 5 minutes for first responders, 5 minutes for lawyers, whatever.
It strikes me that if you want to get better penetration of the message, it's probably better off doing something on the website as opposed to the virtual meeting, which virtually no one shows up at.
It could just be the sort of the theme or something, and it would be more of a PR opportunity, but less about what we actually do in the meeting, more just something we could talk about doing.
Just acknowledgements of work that we've done together over the course of the year and accomplishments with the community. Is that what you're saying?
I don't have any problem with the message. It's just that no one looks, no one sees. I just think it's not an empty exercise in the sense of the content, but if no one other than us tunes in, it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think the website probably makes more sense if we're gonna do that.
That can
And
definitely.
I like Sarah's spin on it to thank other organizations that we've worked with this year.
Well, the fire department and the school would be the biggest ones, and the food pantry, but that's.
Yeah. We kind of not really co-hosted a fundraiser with the Historical Society, but supported each other's fundraising efforts in the summer. That was this last summer, right, for the car wash? And
Yep.
Yeah, it was. And it will certainly fit in well with the survey if that kicks off, that, we're sort of acknowledging how we're working together rather than rowing apart.
I think something on the website and maybe just something that we just prepare like a statement for the annual meeting where you just say, we want to officially thank whoever, the fire department for working with us. And then that way it's in the minutes, it's on the recording, and then we have it on the website for everybody to see if they want it.
That makes sense to me.
I like that idea. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Sounds good.
Sure.
I think that's it for planning calendar.
Can I ask a couple questions? Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
On the subject of the scholarship, do we think that people are going to have any harder time showing volunteerism in the community given COVID? Like, do we think that are kids still able to?
No one's, I would bet that they're not at all.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, it doesn't have to just be volunteer work that they did this past year. It can be volunteer work from any time. But you're right. If people were focusing on doing something this year. I'm sure that didn't happen as easily as normal.
I don't know what we haven't looked at, like exactly how we describe it, but maybe if we want to just make it clear that it didn't have to be in this last year, just in case people are thinking of, oh, I didn't do anything this last year and a half, but.
I didn't pull, Kim, do you remember what it says specifically about that? I didn't pull out, I know I have a copy of the scholarship somewhere, but.
I'm pulling it up right now. Let's see. Stephentown rewards the public service of one graduating high school senior. 800-word essay summarizing your record of community service as well as your plans for college. So it's really just saying, what's your community service like?
And in the past,
I mean,
listed things from years ago, like when they first started working at the summer camp when they were young, or
Yeah, it was cumulative. They did have a lot of current things as well, like in their last year, but yeah.
everyone's sort of on the same playing field, so it's not like anyone's going to have an advantage. Everyone's equally disadvantaged. My recollection of the applications were the same as Melanie's, that people generally spoke about what they've done over a longer period of time than just their last year.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Good thought, though.
You can also put it in the application to be clear that, we understand that it's been a weird year. So, talk about your entire experience, just to focus on the near term.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kim, last year, did we end up getting the scholarship application into a format that we have access to, or it doesn't have the year on it anymore or something?
I thought we did. I'm going to have to search for it, but the one I just pulled up does have the year on it. It says 2020. So, and it's a PDF, so I don't think I can change it because I don't have the PDF reader.
I'll look in my files too after the meeting so I don't waste time right now.
Okay.
And can I just ask a couple follow-ups from the January items?
Yep.
The grant application for Stewart's, is that something that got?
Oh, that's just a quick thing I do online.
Okay, so that's okay. And I think we talked about the agreement last time. That's all set for Hudson.
Yeah, I just kept that in there for next year. We'll need to vote on that again.
And do we need to put the full schedule of meetings on the website with the notices of the meeting schedule?
Yeah, they are on. Well, at least they were. Check. Yeah, it's on there. If you click on Board of Trustees, it's there.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, are you ready for the director's report?
Sure. I sent everybody a director's report for January. Sorry, I didn't get that to everybody before, but that was not going to happen. So this is just telling what we did in December. So I'm not going to go and read through everything. I'll just let you know that basically you guys know everything. We got 5 garbage bags filled with toys that we were able to give to the fire department, and they were able to give out 20 toys to 26 families with 64 children each. So, or with 64 children. So that was a really great thing that the fire department did. And I have to say thank you to you guys, because if the food pantry didn't give it out, I didn't know how we were going to do it. So it was great that we collaborated with the fire department and were able to help give more stuff for kids. Let's see, we did have our book group and our community ornament project. The ornament project, actually, we got rid of all of the ornaments, which were about 75 is what I bought. and we got maybe 30 back. So people had fun, but I did tell, I had a lot of people say, oh, I just had a really nice time painting. It was great. So I'm gonna continue trying to find, we're gonna do some more ornament projects to decorate the outside of the library. We've got some flowers that we're gonna put out in March for, springtime. And so we're gonna do a couple of other things with that. So February stuff. Oh, and in December, I also put together a take-home storytime kit, which we just got rid of the last. No, wait, we have 2 left out of 12. So people had fun with them, and I did get feedback that a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is great, so much fun, thank you so much." So I was like, okay. And then we did one in January as well, it's more like February, but that was a snowy day, and I don't think I have any more of those left. Tried to do a snow sculpture contest, but that didn't go over too well. It was just me and my boys at the library, so we went home after half hour of waiting. The book club has decided to continue on with The Weight of Ink, and we'll talk about it in March because it was a very long book and it's really good, but people haven't had a chance to finish it. And yesterday I tried to do an Among Us game, which is a video game for kids. And I had 9 kids signed up to do it. Only 2 showed up, and you can't play Among Us with 2 people. Or with 3. Oh, Braylon was going to help me. So
That's one of the testing too in the tween group.
Yeah. So I don't know if people had trouble with the connection. So I'm going to connect. I know most of the people who signed up, so I'm going to connect with the ones that I do know and just find out if it was a connection issue or they just decided not to do it, and see if we can go from there.
Yeah.
But it was a little disappointing. So I was like, look at all these people to sign up, and great, no one's here. So we'll try it again though. We'll give it another chance. In January, in terms of programs, we also did book club. That was, I think there were 4 people, Sarah. I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see all the numbers, like the different, how many items we have, how much I've added into the collection as of January, and our borrowers. The one thing that I want to make you all aware of is, which is really quite cool, we circulated 424 items over our desk. That includes any library books that came from other systems for people who were asking for stuff for Stephentown. We loaned out to other libraries 1,169 items. So that was pretty cool to see that, we're able to help support the other libraries too, and that still counts for our circulation. So like, whoever wants to take it, take it. But it's kind of neat to see that those numbers are so high. They've never been that high before.
Any theory about why that is? What's different?
Probably because of Albany not being as open as they normally are. So and the bigger libraries are not open. So, the things will come down to us. But it could also just be that there's so many people requesting things that things are getting, pushed off to the smaller libraries as well. So.
Do we get those things back, or is that the wrong way to think about it?
Oh, no, we get everything back.
Yeah, okay.
I would say 99% of things we get back. We do have quite a few things of people, who have things that are billed now because they've had it out for so long. But I have letters that we're going to start sending out to people who have overdue items that have been out for a really long time, trying to get them back. There are some patrons who just have things out, and when they do have it out for that long and there's a big fine on their account, we make it so that they can't take anything out until they return the book or movie.
I was thinking of the stuff that went to other libraries.
Most of that comes back.
Okay.
I think I would say probably 75% of the overdue notices that I've got are for Stephentown residents, and the rest are for people who are not around here. So,
how is the digital borrowing going? Are we seeing any change in that habit?
There is an increase, a very large increase in our numbers. Let me pull them up. So they do it quarterly for us to show the. I can get you the numbers. I just don't have them right here at my fingertips right now. But they give us those reports quarterly, so I'll get another report at the end of March. But our numbers definitely have gone up. I mean, the trends are, rising for online users and declining for physical item. But it's still, I mean, the majority is still physical items going out. I think we have, I want to say we have about 110 to 120 individual overdrive users. So that's not a bad number. But in the system, it's definitely still going up quite a bit. So we've given more money in terms of trying to keep the collection going for the entire system. So we usually do, I think, $2,200, which is a big chunk for us, which is good. So they're, help get rid of wait times and things like that. But if you want, I'll send you the last quarter report that I have.
Thank you.
So you can see it. Let's see. So I just, in my director's report, put that we did have a staff member who tested positive, just so that we can document it all and, put in there as to why it was that we were closed the one day. And so that's there. I did attend an e-content committee meeting and the DA meeting. The good news is that from New York State, we were expecting a 20% cut in budget from New York State, and now it's down to 7.5%. How this affects us the most is that we were supposed to have a huge cut in our delivery services. They were looking at doing delivery 2 times a week at that, and we normally get 5 times a week. So we get a lot of bins, over the weekend, and but we now are not going to see any changes in delivery. That has gone back to normal. They've also, all of the Upper Hudson staff were taking pay cuts. They were able to not have to take pay cuts anymore. There's only a couple of smaller things that they've had to change, like some of the collections that they're not going to be able to continue with. But for the most part, it was a good cut or a good change. Virtual library advocacy day is coming up. We already talked about on the 26th. It's virtual, so it's going to be a little bit different. It's not where we're not all climb onto a Zoom call with our representatives. That would be a little bit too tough. So they're kind of asking people to bring the information to certain people, and then they're going to talk with our representatives. I'm not quite sure how. I'll find out tomorrow a little bit more, because I'll go to the DA meeting for that. On February 3rd, I hosted a virtual tour and story time hour for the Berlin Pre-K, and it went really wonderfully. We had 2 classes. All of the kids received a take-home story time kit, and then when we met, they got it before our little, I guess at the tour, so they could see what they had in their bags. Everyone got a free book called The Snowy Day. And then after showing them the library, I kind of took my phone around and showed them everything that they could see. And then Grafton Library did the same. And then I read them the story, and it went really well. We had a great time. And so now I'm going to be doing a virtual story time with the pre-K once a month until the end of school, I guess. So I'm excited about it. It was really fun, and it was just cute to see the kids. And I don't know how any teacher teaches any kind of a class to kindergarten, pre-K or kindergarten. I mean, the first thing I heard was, "I have a ball." Yay, that's wonderful. So it was cute, but I don't know how anyone does it. And then the last thing is that I did some research with Ollie, and I did contact the 3 different professors, and it looks like 2 of the professors are not really, one is not interested in doing any virtual programming anymore until she's just like, I can't do it anymore. And then another one said that that's really, military history really isn't her core subject. So, but she said if I want to try other things, we would be happy to. So we'll leave that on the back burner. A man named Greg Sider did say he would love to do it, and he is, although he lives in, he was Iowa or Illinois, I don't remember where, but because it's all virtual, it doesn't matter. But he is a huge military history buff and has lots and lots and lots of classes to take. He gave me a schedule of things that would keep us busy for the next 2 years if we wanted to do it. But he was wonderfully nice and very enthusiastic. And he says he's got lots of slides and he does his research and he's really, enjoys it. So, and the other nice thing is that he said he would do it for free. He doesn't charge for any of his lectures. So
He's interested in both virtual and in person.
he can't do in person because he's not from around here. So at this point, we're only doing virtual anyway. So it's kind of like, well, that'll work. But he has a 5-class series on World War II history that looks like it would be a good way to try and get to start out. So I'm just waiting. Actually, we have been playing phone tag. So we're going to hopefully we'll talk today or tomorrow, not today, and see if we can set up a schedule. So I'll let everybody know about that once that happens. And I think that's pretty much all there is for right now.
Kim, have the bundles gone out at all? No.
Nope. No, they're all sitting neatly displayed where they used to be.
They look great. I mean, I think that the Facebook posts about them look great. Like, I'm interested, but it's not happening, huh?
No. Yeah,
There,
no.
check them out.
I mean, they're lovely. So they, not that, but I am. So my next goal will be to create some programming for take-home stuff for teens. My next book project or book storytime take-home book is hopefully going to be Dr. Seuss themed stuff because his birthday is on the 2nd. So, and we'll just keep going. I'm going to try and do the Among Us again. I might try and get D&D back up and running again. If people are just now used to being online, maybe it'll be an easier thing. I even had Braylon say he would be willing to be a DM, and apparently he's pretty good at it. So use my children as I can.
You advertise the bundles with the pre-K classes.
That's a good idea.
Like maybe, I don't know if they send home flyers but those families might be interested.
That's a great idea. Okay, we can do that. And I think that's pretty much all I had to go on. I don't know if there's anything else. Any other questions?
Thank you, Kim. Up next, I just wanted to review how things are going with the hybrid library opening.
It's going well. I haven't heard any complaints from anybody, and the staff seem to be doing well. I know Jody's very grateful that we kept it so that it was just in curbside only for for those 2 days. So it seems to be going fine.
Okay. It actually worked out to be not that confusing since it's every other day, so.
Right. I haven't heard of anyone like knocking on doors. Sorry,
Okay.
what's that?
Are people using the computers? Are they booking appointments for that?
That I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't seem like there's been a lot of, let me actually look really quickly, because we keep track of all of that, because I need to keep track of it for the state report. So we keep track of how many people come into the library, and now that we've been doing online stuff, they're keeping track for, what are people doing, just copies. So in January, it was really just people coming in for appointments. And what we have for February, no computers as of right now. The one thing that we do have a problem with right now that I will bring up, that I forgot to bring up, is we're having an issue with wasps in the library. Somehow wasps are getting in, and these poor little creatures are so tired and almost dead that they just wander around on the floor until they eventually die, and then we pick them up. The staff is even now putting them into the statistics. So we had 2 wasps on the floor. We had 3 wasps, 6 dead and at least 4 alive. So if it's okay with everyone, I was going to call Meerkat and see because if there's a nest up in the attic somewhere, the last thing we want is to leave it out until springtime when they all become active and then we're inundated with wasps. So it was crazy. I was there doing some labeling and I was just sitting there and all of a sudden this thing just fell onto the floor next to me and it was a wasp. It was like, this is disgusting. So
I did notice one last Sunday. I just chalked it up to whatever, but
yeah, no, they're there all the time and they just keep coming. So if everyone's okay with that, I was going to call Meerkat and just have them take a look if they could.
Does Meerkat do bugs or do they just do like mice and?
I think they did everything if I remember, but we'll have to look it up and find out.
We get a handful of wasps in our house every winter too, and I don't know where they come from, and it only happens in the winter and we don't see them the rest of the year. So I'm not sure what that means, but
maybe they're
just hopeful that you won't be infested someday.
That would be nice. Okay, sorry, going on and on.
Quick question. I noticed the other day that Facebook offers an option to book appointments now. And I don't know if that's something that would just add confusion to the staff having to monitor something, but I just thought it might be a way to help promote the fact that, you can make appointments to do these things. So I wanted to throw it out there. I can look into it further, or if you're like, absolutely no, we'll just drop it. But
let's look into it a little more and see how confusing it would be if the staff would have to have it. The Facebook, we'd have to make another user account for them to have at the library. The other thing too is that Facebook also does fundraising. And they don't take any percentage of the funds that are donated through Facebook. So that might be another thing to think about for our annual appeal. You can donate here, you can donate here, website, in person, check, and on Facebook. So that might be another thing. But Jen, if you want to look into the appointment thing and then let me know, that would be great.
Sure. You want me to send out something on the donation thing as well? I've looked at it previously for the fire department.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay, will do.
Okay.
Where are we at here? Sarah, are you ready for the treasurer's report?
Sure, yeah. Just before I get into it, a quick question. So the bake sale, we made $440 or $460?
Let me get it up. Sorry, let me just find it really quick. Looks like 398. Or 394 and 82 cents.
And that's already in the account that's been deposited?
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the treasurer's report, it looks very much like it's a reprise of what I sent around as a spreadsheet for Ed's meeting, with the exception that now what's pending is real because Kim deposited the tax check for $95,000. It's now cleared. It cleared yesterday. Once it cleared, I took the $6,000 out of the money market and moved it into special projects. So we have a nice hefty $29,000 in special projects. We still have tons of money in the scholarship fund. So we're looking good. We have a total of $190,309.59.
Yep.
That's quite remarkable.
It looks nice in February. Yeah. So sorry, Sarah, Ed's still trying to get into the meeting and I was answering him, and you said that you moved our $6,000 into the special projects account.
From the money account into the special projects. And I also, Kim had asked that I move money from the Zook account, $560 from the Zook account into checking, and I did that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the changes are not reflected in the year-to-date profit and loss, just because it was only done yesterday, so I didn't put it into QuickBooks yet, which obviously though. But
and previously from a committee meeting that we had, there was a little bit of confusion around this, but we moved $5,000, an additional $5,000 into the special projects account. So I just wanted to talk tonight about if you guys are supportive of that, we should vote on that officially happening. And if you have concerns about that, we can move that back into our money market account. But we did have a surplus. Basically, our whole annual appeal this year was surplus, right, Kim?
I think so, yeah.
So that's
altogether 11,000 went into special projects, the 6 and the 5 that I did before we got the tax.
right.
Yeah.
So the 6,000 just gets automatically moved in because that was voted on during our budget process. But the other $5,000 we should vote on if we want to move that into, I mean, it's already in the special projects account, but if we want to keep it there or not. Last year, Nettie suggested that last year, again, our annual appeal money was additional money over what we spent for last year. So last year we moved the whole annual appeal amount into the special projects account to have money to use for things. So we could even talk about moving more than the 5,000 in if you guys were comfortable with that, but we at least need to decide on the 5,000.
And which account you want to allocate it to, if you do. Because right now, like, is it the painting, is it repair, or is it just special projects in general?
It's in special projects in general. That wasn't moved into the painting or repair.
Right. That's where I have it right now. So if you want to like allocate different parts of it to go to something else.
So do we just need a motion? Is that procedure-wise, is that what we need, or?
Yes, officially we need a motion, but I just wanted to see what everybody's thinking. I know later on in the meeting, we're going to talk about the Upper Hudson construction grant and things like that. We have things listed in this strategic plan that we want to spend money on, like new desk chairs and things like that. So whatever is in the special projects account, we can use to accomplish things.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have money in that account to cover off on the various things that we need to do, and we still have plenty of money in the money market. So from my perspective, it makes sense to do that. That's a good place for the money to sit.
Makes sense to me.
Is there a downside? The only downside I can think of to doing that is foregoing the minuscule amount of interest we probably get.
Yeah, and it is really pretty minuscule, so I don't think it's worth fussing about personally.
Yeah, the upside is that I think it encourages us to think about doing things that we need to do to maintain the building and stuff like that I noticed on Ed's report. There are a number of things, and some of those things might be funded through grants. Fortunately, I'm trimming off the board, so that's good.
Special projects doesn't include farewell parties, Tom.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. So I would be in favor of doing that. Scott, you look like you're dubious about it, or is it just the lighting?
It's where you're putting your money. It's not like the scholarship account, which is really a segregated account, which shouldn't be commingled with library operations. So it's probably useful in the sense of tracking it in a separate account and creating that amount. So you've got a quick, very easy way to say, okay, we've got X amount in the bank for these kinds of projects, which are separate and apart from your operating account. So it's just useful, and it's not as significant. Not that I'm an accounting expert. In fact, I'm totally clueless in this area. But I don't believe that the creation of these sub-accounts has any operational significance. I think it's just a useful tool to have us track sort of the pots of money that we sort of designated for particular tasks. So I'm fully supportive of just allocating the funds that way. I'm not sure that you need a board approval of it because it's just not. But I don't care.
Well spoken.
I missed you too.
Hi, Ed. Last year we voted on it. It just makes me feel good that everybody gets a chance to say what they think we should be doing with our money. But it sounds like there's at least no objections. So in that case, would someone like to make a motion that we move or keep that $5,000 in our special projects account?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott and Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did anyone have any other questions about the financial reports or comments?
Yeah, from 10,000 feet, as you take a look at the finances, if anyone's got an idea of this, given how COVID's affected our operation, and probably will have the same effect going forward, what's the bottom line in terms of our budgeting? Because we weren't budgeting necessarily with COVID in mind. Are we ahead or are we behind at the end of the day when we spend less money or a little more money? Is it going to be a wash? And do our monthly...
I think we're slightly ahead. Not dramatically ahead, but slightly ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like we have a couple more expenses, unexpected expenses, but then we're not spending as much on program and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're not spending any as much, so we don't have the money coming in from various small things that we like printing and things like that to the same degree, but we're spending less.
Sure. Okay.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So I think for once at this point in our meeting, we're actually ahead of schedule, which is exciting. But
We'll
Sarah,
chase that.
ready for the Brandon Marketing Committee report?
Sure. So I think you're mostly up to speed on a lot of this, but first, looking at the community research effort, we have our grant application in. We're still awaiting a reply. We haven't heard anything back. I think Jen's looking every day at the emails to see if we've heard anything, and we haven't. Assuming that we get the money, that puts us in a timeline for reporting and conversations to follow the reporting late spring, early summer. So that's where we stand with that. As I think I mentioned last time, we received a number of letters of support from the organizations to go ahead and apply for the grants, which was great. It's a little bit confusing in that some of the organizations that provided letters of support don't seem to be very supportive of the project. The fire department would be one of them, but the town board seems extremely supportive, and also the Stephentown Community Association seems extremely supportive. And as a result of that, I would say that the focus of the survey has morphed a little bit to be more around satisfaction with Stephentown overall, what people care most about, and then how Stephentown stacks up against those things. We haven't lost any of the stuff about the library and the other organizations, so it's very long, as if you took a look at the questionnaire, you probably saw. But I think it's a lot more meaty, and I did learn some interesting stuff from attending the last Stephentown Community Association meeting, which now shows up in the survey, which I think was really helpful. So let's see. Yeah, nothing's changed with the pricing. It's possible that there will be a change in pricing based on the new questionnaire, but as I said, that it's constantly changing, and I can't really get feedback from the vendor on, input from the questionnaire until we say, yes, we're actually doing it, because why should they be doing work and for no pay? So they may have some suggestions on ways to streamline it, which I'm hoping they do. But that's where we stand with that. The tween focus group, I finalized the moderator's guide and sent it around to everyone. Rebecca and Kim together were able to find a number of kids that are willing to do it. So hopefully they show up as planned tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I'm really excited about it. And I'll share a report of the findings. We're taping it, we're recording it, so I can listen back, and I'll write a report and share that with everybody. The veterans updates, Kim already spoke about the speaker series, so that's kind of good news that that's moving along. And the only other veterans related things were what transpired at Ed's meeting, that Robin is going to work on adding a veterans page to the website, which is great. Jen's getting a veterans banner, looking into a veterans banner, and we still need to appoint a veterans liaison. And then the other sort of branding related, which could go under, I mean, it came out in the strategy meeting, but it is branding, is the work that Robin has done to develop the boilerplate language to use in press releases, which looks really good. That will be great in that it's going to reinforce the library brand by being consistent each time. And the need to prioritize.
If I can just interrupt for a minute, the boilerplate, it looks fantastic. The only problem is that it's not going to be able to be published in like the Eastwick Press when I put press releases in, because it's so, and same thing with the advertiser. And, if we put them in for like the Times Union or well, we don't really do Times Union, the Troy Record or the Berkshire Eagle, they might be good with having that, but we will, I know it's always limited space, and I'm lucky sometimes to get everything in when I do put stuff into the Eastwick and to advertisers. So I just wanted to mention that, because I don't, I put a press release out just about every week, and I know that it won't be published. So.
Well, I'll jump in. I wasn't sure if anybody else had anything to say. I can take a look at the requirements for some of the different publications that we usually submit to, and it may be more expedient if they have an online form that you're having difficulty because they're only giving you a certain amount of space to work with. We can possibly circumvent that by submitting directly to editors.
Well,
and
I already do go straight to the editors for the Eastwick and for the advertiser. Eastwick Press, I send it right to Doug, who's the editor of the Eastwick Press. So,
and he's telling you only have a certain number of characters or words?
No, but if he doesn't have enough space in the paper, he'll have to cut stuff, which I've had happen. Sure. So to have a boilerplate in there for everything, I don't think is gonna. I know for that one, I don't think that's gonna. He'll probably cut that most of the time, is what my guess is.
So typically, what happens with press releases is have your most important stuff, your who, what, when, why, where, goes right at the top, and that's the stuff that usually appears in the paper. The boilerplate, you typically want to submit it anyway, even if it gets cut, because it's that name recognition that people see over and over again. And when they do actually have an opportunity to run it, great, it's there. I don't think we should be super worried about whether or not they have the room to run it. I would advocate for putting it and the logo on every single press release that goes out.
It's useful for background in anything. If it doesn't get picked up in the piece, it's always there. It's in their file. If they want information about the library, it's there. So, it's probably useful for the press to the extent that they do something more extensive rather than just, take something about an announcement of a particular event. One of the things I saw in the language, our library is open to everyone. And I don't think you need to be a resident to have a library card, do you?
You have to be a resident of Stephentown in order to have a Stephentown library card. But we are open to, anyone from Upper Hudson can come in and borrow something from our library, no matter where your library card is from.
It just seemed more exclusive. Basically, the description seemed more exclusive than a library actually is.
Okay.
And we do have people coming to like you don't need a library card to come to programs. So sometimes we get people from New Lebanon or Berlin coming to programs, or Hancock.
Well, they don't even need a library card to come in and use our computers or the fax machine or, printing, any of that stuff. The only thing they need a library card for is to borrow materials.
Yeah, sort of like the library is open for everyone. I mean, that's sort of like really the point. Library cards are a little different issue.
What was I going to say? I don't remember.
I know, Robin, you were trying to cut down or prioritize the suggested list of things that we would submit. So I'm doing the opposite by suggesting a new one. But since Kim just told us about the virtual story time with the pre-K and the tour, that seems like a nice community thing to get out there, that we did that, and that it's an ongoing thing. Just seems like something a little, good PR for the library. Another example of how we're adapting virtually during this time.
So
And
would
we-
you folks prefer
Contest anyway.
then? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying the snow person contest comes off in any case because it didn't happen.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do the press releases every week with any programming that's happening. So that's really, part of what my job is. So I'm fine continuing to do that because, when I do a schedule, I just then put it all into the press release and send it off to Doug. And, he's pretty good about putting everything in the paper if there's enough room. The advertiser has more of a strict deadline. Well, no, they both have strict deadlines, but, and I usually only do the larger programs, like the big things, in the other papers, the Record and the Berkshire Eagle. So, but if we want to do that, that's totally fine. I can continue submitting to other papers as well.
I think one thing that came up was just besides submitting the programs and having that aspect of what we try to get into the papers, sometimes having something that's a little bit more just PR, just here's a good story about what the library is doing. So like in addition to the program stuff. So sometimes it might be, we just have program stuff to announce, but sometimes we might want to be thinking about making sure we get some of these other nice stories out there as well.
Which we
Robin,
really do.
Just for representing that, let me know. But
I generally do that as well. Like I'll send in pictures of programs that we've had, or if there was a special event, so that kind of a thing is what I will put that stuff in there too.
Kim, when you have a moment, would you mind sending me like the last, 2 or 3 releases you've sent out, just so that I can get a feel for what kinds of things you submit to the papers and your format?
Sure.
Great.
And then just to finish off the branding stuff, we still need to update the logo. So we need to kind of finalize that process, or come to an agreement about how to go about doing that.
So I know I showed you guys all some drawings that Logan had done as potential things for the logo. He's working on a book right now, and there's no way he's going to be able to work on it until at least July, because the book is due in July. So he's spending every single extra moment he has in his studio. So if we want to find another way or find somebody else to do it, that's totally fine with me. And now that things are getting better, I think I could do we could try for the logo contest. That might be a fun thing to continue on and maybe do something in the spring. Or if someone else has a great way of creating logos, that would be awesome. I'm not good at creating logos, so what do we want to do?
Are we clear what the parameters are around what I know that we're trying to move away from the family idea, that it's not just a place for families, but are we clear what the parameters are around what we want the library to stand for? Or so that if we were to do some sort of contest, people would kind of need to know what we were driving at, you know, what we were looking for.
Right. That I don't have. So that would be something we'd have to come up with.
Okay, so we need to think about that and what we think would be appropriate and what, yeah, where we want to go with it. Okay.
Do we want to handle that at a brand and marketing committee meeting at some point?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Do you want to pick a date for that now or send out an email?
Let's pick a date for it now, just because we're all here and it makes it easier. Not next week. How about the week after next? And I can do it in the evening, or I can do it kind of anytime. So it's more up to everyone else.
So are you looking at March for like a week of March 1st?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
I have
about
a conflict on the 3rd on, let's see, the 3rd at 7 would be my only conflict. I'm pretty open otherwise.
how does the 4th sound to people at say 6 o'clock? And we'll make it just an hour. Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Great.
Did you say it's 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6. And I mean, if that's when people are eating, then say no. I'm flexible. I like things earlier, but it's not a big deal.
That works
Do you
for
eat
me.
dinner at 4 o'clock, Sarah?
Hmm?
Fess up.
Do
Do
I
you
eat
eat dinner at 4 o'clock? Fess up.
That is here special, yes. Sometimes 4 o'clock, sometimes 4:30, sometimes 5, sometimes asleep by 8:30, and up at 5. Yeah, we're on some crazy schedule over here. It's pathetic.
Yeah, you need a book bundle for animal behavior modification techniques.
Very correct about that. If you can find it for me, please do.
That's sort of like nursing homes where they feed everybody at 4 o'clock or 4:30 supper so they can put them to bed at 8:30, or maybe that's when they fall asleep. I don't know.
Thanks, Tom.
Sarah, just so you have this on your list too, and I don't forget again, but when we do get the logo settled, we need to order annual appeal envelopes and whatever we decide to use for next year with the new logo on them.
Okay. And I'll probably use the same organization, the not-for-profit, whatever. Which
Yeah,
was so
seems
easy to work with, not. But okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever. If you want to work with them again or look for somebody else that, if somebody has an idea of another company who's easier to work with.
No,
that
I
doesn't
think
matter.
now that I kind of know how they work and I know how it works, it'll be fine. And, you know, the envelope will be pretty much the same with just minor modifications. So probably easier to go with that.
Okay. So is that everything you had, Sarah?
That's all I have. That's all she wrote.
That's a lot. Thank you for all that you're keeping track of. And before we continue on with our committee reports, I realized that the reason why we were ahead of schedule is because I forgot to do Kim's director performance review, which as a group we talked about last month, and Kim has already gotten to look through the performance review with all of our comments and scores added in together. So Kim already knows what we think, but I just wanted to take the time to let Kim know with all of us here that we think, Kim, that you're doing a great job. We appreciate, as usual, all of the time and effort that you put in to programming and trying things out over this last crazy year to see what works and what sticks. The feeling in the community. It seems like we're still growing support for the library, and people have a positive view in general of what we're doing. I think that that also speaks to that we raised more money in our annual appeal this year than we did last year, in a year where we didn't know what was going to happen with fundraising and things. So in general, we're grateful for everything that you do for the library.
Thank you. I have to be honest, I feel like I've kind of pulled back a little bit this year because of everything that's happened with me in my personal life. So I'm trying to get back into my normal mode of being and doing things at the library. So, because I know that, you know, last autumn and over the summer, things just were not good for us here. And then when I got sick, and so I'm going to try a little bit more and try and get back to the way my usual way of doing things instead of a little bit scaled back.
I think we would rather have you healthy than extremely productive. So if you need to make a choice, I would strongly advocate for taking care of yourself, because I think you have a natural tendency to do a whole lot of stuff. And that's a wonderful thing, but it can wear you out after a while.
It does, but I'm also at the point where I need to do it because, you know, with everything that happened with my dad, it was, you know, so hard. But now I'm trying to get back into things has been good for me. So I kind of get back into things with the library more than I have been. But thanks, Tom. I will.
Yeah.
I swear, if I get COVID again, I'm going to be so upset.
I'm looking forward to shrinking the director's evaluation form. So it's easier to do if you have a good director.
It's interesting to read some confusing work of somebody you're evaluating so that you can work less. I said I've never heard anyone seeking to encourage someone to do less work, not because you think they're being overworked, but because you find the evaluation daunting.
Well, there's two. I'm perfectly fine with it because I wrote it. It's my concern for the general welfare that I'm worried that other people will find it daunting and discourage vigorous participation in board activities.
Well, I think overall we agreed that we like going through the different points and just thinking about what our goals are and expectations, but we could streamline things a little bit since we're kind of all on the same page and Kim's doing a great job.
Thanks.
So Kim already knows, but just so it's in our meeting minutes, like we talked about last month, Tom's working on streamlining the director performance review. And then Sarah's going to work on a form for the staff to review Kim, just so we can get a better idea of how that relationship is going. And that will hopefully also help inform Kim's process of reviewing herself.
Does Kim, do you have formal reviews with the staff too, or no?
No, I had wanted to, but because we're together so much, I really haven't. We do staff meetings, or before COVID, we did staff meetings once a month and checked in with everybody and, you know, talked about whatever things we needed to talk about for the library, but I haven't had official reviews of the staff.
Do you think you would want to, or do you think it's really not necessary? It's too informal and.
I think it's pretty informal, and the fact that we're working together so frequently and that I see everything that they're doing, it's kind of, you know, and I touch base with them every day if I can. I mean, if you guys would prefer that, then I totally can do that. But like I said, it's something that we do just in general anyway.
Yeah, I have no preference one way or the other. It's more what you think would work best, and I guess how they feel as well. Like, do they want that? Do they want that kind of formalized feedback or not? And maybe they don't.
My guess is no.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
So we'll skip back ahead into our committee reports. Ed, we got your minutes from the Planning and Projects Committee meeting, the strategic planning meeting, but do you want to go over that a little bit since there was a couple of us that weren't there?
Okay, there's not really, a couple of people who weren't there. We basically just went through the plan, and I'm not sure what we should be bringing up here, because it could take a long time, but essentially we just went through the plan and reviewed what we had in it and found that the longer term objectives were still what we wanted to continue with. And then we went through the individual strategies, or what do we call them? Events of the year. And we reviewed them. And I don't know if it's worth going through everything that's on here. Is there anybody who has a question? I guess it's probably less than the people were at the meeting, Tom or Rebecca.
I just wanted to let you guys know about, because I saw on the about the Hello Library, the grant that was going up for early reading support. So for the story walk, we're getting 2 more. So we'll put one up in the library grounds, and then I've contacted Cyril Grant about putting one up on the field across the street. He's putting it to they've just got a new superintendent, so I guess that he's going to be a little bit inundated right now. But Cyril thinks the idea is a great idea and would love to have it happen. So he's going to pass it along, and then we'll see if we can get approval. And if not, I'll find another place to put it. We'll go to Cherry Plain, or we'll put another one up at on the Corkscrew, maybe in another spot. So, but we are getting 2 more. I applied for those.
Good.
Great.
Yeah, cool.
So can I interject just one thing that I should have asked during the Brown stuff? Dennis Burrick wants to see the questionnaire and share it with the people in the Stephentown Community Association. I told him I wanted to make sure that you guys were all okay with where I was with it beforehand. I didn't get any feedback, so I'm assuming that's fine, but I just wanted to be sure that's okay with you, that I go ahead and share that with him.
Well, there are a couple of things that we should actually discuss at the meeting here. One, we talked about staff development, and none of us really knew, since you weren't there, Kim, was what is it you do in terms of training and developing the staff? Do you have some kind of an annual calendar and plan, or do you? Well, I guess I'll leave. You can answer. You're muted.
Sorry. We don't do we do staff training, and I think it's very informal, and it has more to do with, what are we doing, what's new at the library, we do the sexual harassment training that New York State makes us do, which actually we have to do sometime soon. And then, during our staff meetings, when we had them, I would go over different things that were happening in the library, different things that everybody needed to know about. Because the ladies are not, career librarians, they're not interested in, the more formal stuff. The one thing that we did do is Maria did a lot of the early literacy seminars, or she was going to do them when COVID didn't hit, or pre-COVID. So she would do a lot of stuff for that, just to try and continue getting good programming for our little ones. But I always, if I see something that I think is going to be relevant, especially now with all the virtual trainings, I'll send that on to the staff. So it's really more of an informal training, in terms of just making sure everybody is on the same page, and that, if there's something new that everyone needs to learn about. We did have one week when we did have someone from Upper Hudson came and did a training about Overdrive and Libby, and how to help people with different devices. And so that kind of thing. As I see problems coming up where people aren't able to answer questions from our patrons, that's when I'll bring in a training, or bring somebody from Upper Hudson if I have to, or that kind of thing.
Okay. because one of the reasons it came up was Sarah had gone to the meeting of this new, I'm not sure, is it Business Owners Society? Is that, yeah.
It's Stephentown Community Association. Actually, Tom, I was kind of confused because it seems like there's two names. There's one for the small business or is it one and they just call it two different things?
I think it's one and they call it two different things. I think there's an internal, I think we're going to have to make some decisions about how are we going to incorporate not-for-profits and small business in the same organization, which I don't think it's that difficult, but I think we need to squarely face that, or there's people that are going to feel it's one thing or the other without our having made a deliberate decision.
Okay.
Seems like the Stephentown Community Association is more of an umbrella name. So.
Yeah.
Sounds like we need a branding committee.
Marketing committee?
Sarah brought up was that they were looking for services that they could provide to the community. And we've talked about this for years, what we could do is a business center or supply of business venue and activities. And one thing we talked about was getting, supplying a notary function in the library. And that would be something we could train the people, staff to do.
It's not that easy.
So it's not as easy as you think it is.
No,
But it's not rocket science.
No, I actually went to a seminar on how to do it, and I was going to do it. Actually, we had another grant through Upper Hudson, and I started with the training. I did the first. There was one big training that you do, and then you have to go back and study the material and then take the test. The thing that made me concerned was that I know that it's never happened, or it's not that it's never happened, but you are legally responsible for whatever you put your name to on that stuff. So if someone comes in and they falsify something, you put your name on it, you're then legally responsible for whatever repercussions there are for that. So it made me very uncomfortable doing it, just because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, I don't know all that stuff. So I ended up not going through with it because it was not something I was comfortable doing for myself. If we have staff members who want to give it a try, I would be fine with that. Or if there's a board member, obviously you guys can do it if you want. But for me, it was just not, it didn't seem like something I was ready to do. Because it's not just, putting your name on a piece of paper. I'm legally saying, yes, this is this person and I've done everything I can do. It made me a little uncomfortable. So, and knowing we have Brian Baker in town, he's a notary. He does it all the time for people. And then we've got banks, down in New Lebanon, everyone has a notary there. So it was one of those things that I was just like, not quite ready to do.
It was just something that came up in the meeting, not in connection with the library at all, but they are interested in developing like a hub where you can do printing, copying, faxing, notary. And so that's something that we're testing, not associated with any particular institution, just this feel that they need.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the survey has potentially great utility to the Stephentown community organization about what people want, what businesses want, what would help them.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to put it out there for the record. I did used to be a notary before I moved to South Carolina. So if anybody needs like free resources or study materials, I saved all of mine.
Okay, thanks. Does that mean you're not a notary anymore?
No, not anymore.
Could have said problem solved right there.
I have been thinking about picking it up again.
There was another, for the business center, I would be happy to try and figure out how we could do something like that at the library. We have our printer, fax machine, copy machine. The only problem with faxes is that we'd have to get a second phone line coming into the library because we don't have that right now with our fax machine. If someone wants to fax something to us, they have to tell us exactly the time they're going to do it within like 5 minutes, so that if someone else calls, it doesn't go to the fax machine. So that was another, it's something that we can look into. It, we obviously are doing okay. So if it's something that we want to look into, I can definitely give Fairpoint a call and find out how we would go about that.
Well, actually, we had addressed that same exact issue at the meeting. And one of the questions was, do we have the fiber optic service for the library?
Yes. What is our service? It is, I think it's the fiber optic. You know what? I can't remember completely, but I know that it was at one point the fastest internet in the town, but I don't know I can't remember if we put it in after or before the fiber optic stuff happened. I can find out though.
With the fiber optics, we can easily add a second line. It doesn't require any wiring or anything.
You know what? I'll call Fairpoint and just ask them what it would take to put in a second line here, and see what they say, and then I'll bring it all back to everybody and let you know.
Thanks, Kim.
I'm curious, was there actually a lot of interest in setting up a business center?
I think we came up with it was we thought other people might want it, but as far as concrete evidence, it's something that people say. I don't know how committed they'd be to supporting it, but it's not quite as extreme as my neighbors who went down and say we should have turned the elementary school into a hostel for wayward cats or a pharmacy or something. But I would. That's a very good question, and I have yet to see strong evidence that it's something that we're the poorer for not having. And hopefully
we're going to ask it in the survey. The wording is a little bit in question, but we're going to ask, is this something that people, I think my take from listening at the meeting was that the small business people themselves wanted access to copying and faxing options in town rather than having to go to Staples and doing, for large jobs and things like that. That was what I took away. But
so that's a whole different ball of wax. I mean, it's not like they want just small faxes. They want like a large machine where they can do volume, I gather.
I think potentially, yes. So that's why I'm sending this back to that group so that they can look at the wording and say, no, that's not what we had in mind. We have in mind this, so that we can test.
I mean, from the library's perspective, yeah, we have a larger than usual probably printer or fax machine, but we're basically, that's a very small output unit, and it's not like a large copier which costs lots of money and can handle that.
Right. I mean, I think these businesses probably for the most part don't do huge volumes of anything either, but it's
well,
just
if then they can buy a $150 machine, that's what I'm thinking about, particularly with COVID. People are now working from home more than ever. Yeah. They've got a fax machine, they've got a printer, they can email it stuff, so they can most people have that stuff. So what's the greater increment that they're looking for that we might be able to fill or want to fill? And it strikes me that if you're talking about something on a commercial level, that's something that we probably should not get involved in. It's, we're not running a business, we're running a library.
Yeah. The survey this part of the survey isn't what can the library do for the town. It's what does the town want, and then decisions will be made around where should that be.
Sure. I was addressing this to the survey. I thought I wasn't addressing this to the survey. It just struck me that we were toying with the idea of, well, what can we do?
Oh, right.
I was just trying to trying to get a sense of what people wanted, not that was not directed to. It was just, is this something that we should be interested in or express interest in, as opposed to. That's where my head was at.
Yeah, and that was my takeaway, and I could have been wrong that that's what they were talking about. I sort of thought they were talking about higher volume kind of stuff that a small business would need that an individual wouldn't, but
just historically, oh, sorry, Sarah. I was just going to, just historically, we've only had 1 or 2 people who have used the library. You know, we have one person who comes in multiple times a week. I mean, this is pre-COVID, obviously, and would use the fax machine and the copy machine, and he would do all of his work sitting there at the tables. We barely had anybody else who would ever, you know, oh, I've got this business, I need to do, you know, however many copies, and it just never, we didn't have anybody coming in and asking for that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of the faxing that we do is medical releases or, you know, social security payments and, you know, all that kind of just personal stuff. It's not a lot of people, and I don't even know if they know that we have the fax machine and copy machine to use. So, and the other deterrent for large copies is that we charge 25 cents a copy. If you go to Staples, it's like 2 cents or however much it is. I don't remember. So if it is something that we start to do, we might look into changing the prices or doing something so that, you know, because if you're doing like over 100 copies at 25 cents a copy, that can start getting expensive after a while.
We looked into this, I don't know, Tom, you can probably remember when, but about 5 years ago, we looked into whether we could turn the community room into some kind of a business center. Because we had a podium, people could have meetings and make speeches and do all the various activities. And we eventually came to the conclusion there really wasn't much that we could offer that people didn't have. And then sort of what Scott's referring to, except a room. I mean, a public room where people could actually meet.
Yeah. And
that's part of how we ended up getting the phone system, which we don't use. And we could call in, this is before we had all this Zoom and meetings and stuff.
Right.
And we did get this complicated system, which I think we got Superzet figured out how to use twice, and then we eventually gave up.
It's in a box in the attic if you want it.
Right.
I know where it is.
So I don't know how much. I think Sarah's approach is a good idea. Tell us what we could possibly supply them, because our own ideas didn't go very far.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim, do you want to talk to the staff about just in case if any of them are interested in becoming a notary, or if they have any experience with that?
I don't think they do, but I can ask.
Okay. Ed, is there anything else from your report?
That's worth bringing up. Well, I think, you know, the veteran stuff, we did talk about a number of things that we could do to start actually developing a relationship more fully with the veterans. And that we did agree that we were going to buy a banner for Bob Smith, and that we were going to, Robin was volunteered to add a veterans page to the website. And we also, and I don't know if there's anybody who has connections who wasn't at the meeting, thought of the idea that we'd like to get people who are historically from Stephentown involved in past wars, ones in the long ago, everything from the French and Indian and Revolutionary Wars on. And there are organizations like the DAR and maybe the Historical Society who would have information about who came from Stephentown and contributed something significant. So they could be topics for a presentation, or, and then we talked about the idea of who could give the presentations. And 2 men had given the presentations relatively recently in the area, Bob Olson and Jerry Robinson. And they want to give another one. Because it is something we could actually do through a go-to meeting kind of a format. And it would just seem like a way of integrating the veterans in, and at the same time getting the library to provide some kind of services. And the other thing is we still have to fill the veterans liaison position on the board. So and that's something we talked about in terms of recruiting new people. We should be looking for somebody who's a veteran.
Just so you all know, we do have the application for the banners at the library. It's on the veterans shelf where they gave us all the different materials for veterans to pick up, which we have yet to have anyone take a look at. It's been there for 2 years now. But the application is there, so if you want to, you can grab that.
Do you remember how much it costs to get one of those banners?
I think it's like $100.
No, the number I remember, some 100, 120, something like that.
Yeah.
Surprisingly expensive, but do they put them up for that price, or do we have to put it up ourselves?
I don't know if the town puts them up for us. I think the town might put them up.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think Aldi does it for them.
Sent the update it with the pricing with the link to it as well, in response to your in follow up to that meeting. So I did provide that. I just can't find it at the second.
One thing that came up after the meeting, because it was freezing cold in there, because our director likes to keep the heat to a minimum. She's not there. But anyway, yeah. And so I turned it on, and we discovered that the hottest places in the system were nowhere near where the outlet ducts were, or the diffusers were for the heating. There's something wrong with the system. I mean, there were just these warm patches in the ceiling that would exude some kind of heat. So something is wrong. It didn't even follow the ductwork. It didn't follow anything. It was just random hot spots.
They changed the ductwork. So some of the ducts that are on the bottom portion of the building are no longer functional. They don't even use them. When they did I don't remember who it was, Tom, that did all the new upgrades to everything. They put in stuff up on everything's now through the ceiling, except for in the main parts of the library. But I can have, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy who did the furnace for us, he was fantastic. So I can have him ask him to come on over and take a look as well again and find out what we can do.
Because there's an entrance to the attic, I guess it is. That was hot. That was when I first noticed. It was really warm. And that's nowhere near any ducts or anything else. I don't know where all the heat's going, but that's wasted.
I will get in touch with him and see if he can come and just take a look and make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to.
I guess it covers everything. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about any of these things or have any suggestions on who might be a good veteran to join the board and then be our liaison.
I did ask Freeling, by the way, and got a definite no.
What about Phyllis DeFriest? Has anybody ever asked her?
No.
She could be really good. She does a lot of outreach she's a veteran herself, and she does a lot of outreach with the veterans in the community. I know she sometimes will drive them to medical appointments and things like that. I worked with her as a poll inspector during the last election, so I can see if I can get her contact information from the person who was in charge of it last time around.
We do have her contact information. I've got her email. Although I don't know if her email, she doesn't usually check it from what I understand. She's not a technology person, but I do think we have her phone number as well somewhere in our.
But Jen did speak to her about the survey, so we've had some contact, but not about that.
Yeah.
We're in her good graces again because we were kind of she was not happy with us for a while. But now that you guys have done the veterans lunches, the Veterans Day lunch, and we have a kiosk up for everybody, so she's happy with us now.
Well, if she joins the board, she can make herself much happier.
My only observation about this discussion is that while it may be useful to have a liaison in connection with the veterans organization, a trustee of this organization needs to be interested in the mission of the library.
Right.
It's not the mission of this library is not to work as an adjunct to the veterans organization. So that having a veteran who's interested in the library, like Bob, for example, is fabulous. But just getting someone as a veteran doesn't have an interest in what the library does is not necessarily something in the interest of this institution. So, I mean, if there are people there who like what we're doing and are interested in helping, that's great. But just soliciting someone to come on the board who's not really willing to do the work that we do, I'm not so sure that I would support that kind of approach.
Spoken like a true fiduciary. I would expect nothing less.
I think you make a good point, Scott. I don't know if somebody like Judge Meekins would be a more likely appropriate candidate who has expressed interest in the library before to some degree. I don't know how much, but yeah, I'm skeptical that Phyllis would be interested to begin with. But
I mean, when I hear like they were angry at us, but now they're not angry at us, it just doesn't sound like our interests align.
Yeah.
I appreciate that perspective, Scott. Thank you.
I don't try to be difficult. It just seems like it's a detour for the board.
Yes, I think that's an important way to look at it. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about with strategic planning is Scott sent out the information from Upper Hudson about the construction grant. And I printed that out and don't know where I have it right now. But anyway.
Sorry, it's a pretty lengthy process. I was kind of surprised to see.
Yeah.
Well, actually, from my perspective, it's music.
What was that?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of stuff. What I thought was interesting about it is when they take a look at the priorities and how they evaluate the projects. We don't have, I don't believe, anything in the first priority, which is like absent funding, we're not able to perform core functions. But a lot of the projects we were talking about were about access and safety. So being in the number 2 position and our projects aren't particularly expensive or extensive, it sounds to me like some of the things that the library construction grant are willing to fund are things that we're interested in doing. So we may be able to provide a pretty good application in terms of the priorities for the capital funding. But I think at this point, you just take a look at the stuff and we'll take a look at what we had in our plan and see what possible projects we might want to push and get done. It struck me the immediate things or another rampway access, grading accessibility, were things that fit in nicely. Having, you know, particularly another exit with handicapped access, it seems to me like a really important safety point, and also opens up greater access to the backyard. I mean, and maybe to the extent that having a ramp out the back doesn't make sense unless you pave a pathway and make it go. Those are the kinds of things. So it's something like we need to think about what we're thinking of doing and seeing what kind of fits there are.
I agree. I thought that some of our priorities from our strategic plan fit into the grant application process. So do we want to schedule a meeting also to talk about planning for that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, because I think we need to decide whether you want to do it, what do you want to do, and then you need to start speaking to people about doing it and how much it's going to cost and getting estimates and doing the things you need to do in order to complete the grant application. And while there's time, there's not that much time. I mean, when you're really talking about June, the decisions are made in, I think, October. You need to file a complete application in September. So, and getting all of the stuff done, depending on what things look like with COVID, is going to take more time than it would ordinarily take.
I thought the grants weren't awarded until the following April or May. Did I miss that?
Yes, I think my recollection of sitting in Upper Hudson is the grants are awarded in, I think they make their decisions in November. I could be wrong about that, but it was somewhere between, I think, the submission in September, and then they make some decisions in like November or December.
Because what you sent out, it says that there's a whole separate review of the applications that happens from November to March. And then it says April to May is when the member libraries are notified of the final approval and the award amount. So we might not be a whole year away from knowing that we would even get how much.
I don't, that may not be accurate, only because I'm pretty sure that the awards for this year's grant were made and announced within the last 60 days.
I'm pretty sure that they do it before the first of the year. It seems like, I feel like anytime I hear about what has been awarded, it's November, December time. But I put it this way, I voted on this stuff within the last 2 months. Whether they notified the libraries or not, I don't know, but it would be bizarre for them to approve it board level and, not announce it. People announce when they make grants. So,
yeah, on that same paper that Jen's reading, it says July, but like a whole year later, July and August is when the grant award disbursement. It says the grant award disbursement is part of the New York State budget process between July and August.
That may be right. I mean, the disbursements may be at different times than the award.
Okay. So anyway, but either way, we would need to have things put together for application by August 1st, I guess, right, Jen? Is that what you see?
Yeah, so the system opens in June, but then the first deadline, I think, was the August 1st.
Yeah. So either way, we need to pick a date to meet to talk about it.
I think one thing you might want to consider when you're having the date to talk about it is what can be combined. If there's several different projects that relate to safety that can be combined in a grant. And that's worth, I think, finding out before you make decisions about, do you want to do this? Because if you have to do one of those for each project, it's a lot of work. And you might want to consider that.
That's a good point. I was hoping that we could combine things, like maybe do rolling shelves for increased space and the ramp off the back. And
well, those are I mean, the ramp off the back is a safety thing, and the rolling shelves are an access thing. So I don't know that I'd try to combine those, but if there's other stuff that relates to handicap access and safety and whatever.
We could look into getting the engineer to come and tell us whether or not the old section of the building is
yeah, that's good. If we're gonna, that would do it. Yeah, you're gonna fall through.
We can't move our bookshelves, otherwise everyone's gonna collapse.
And I don't know what's under the old section. If the cement crawl space is just under the new section.
It is.
Okay, then God knows what you'd wind up in if you fell through the floor under the old section.
Yeah.
Is there any chance there's a cellar?
Say that again.
Sorry?
I think he said, is there a chance that there's a cellar?
I don't think so.
Not that you'd want to go into, I don't think.
That's different, yeah.
So
I don't know, this building has sounded more and more like Stranger Things, hotspots that are explained, subterranean caverns. Whoa.
Yes.
So just so we're not running too far over our time here, let's pick a date and then we can return to this discussion at the meeting. Do you guys want to meet as early as next Thursday?
And we could make this the next planning meeting. This is a perfectly good topic for the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, Ed, when do you want the planning meeting?
So, I mean, any Sunday morning's fine with me. The weekdays are, out of the question.
I have a hard time making things on Sunday just because I'm at the library, 5 days a week, and then to come in for something on a Sunday is also that makes it hard for me.
Well, would Saturday be better?
Any day other than the weekend would be great. No,
Ed, does another Thursday evening work for you?
I'm just not here. I mean, the weather
we can
here
do
is actually nice, but down where the plant was, it was snowing and blowing. It was not good. It's a long time to drive up there.
Can we do it
remotely? Virtually.
yeah.
Not everybody wants to meet in person anyway, so we can meet virtually.
Yeah, I guess we could. I personally just don't like virtual meetings, but I think that's what we have to do. I've got to be practical.
I think that's where we're at right now.
Well, Thursday would be a bad night because it's usually when I come back here. I just don't get here this early. So it could be almost any other evening. Tuesday or Wednesday probably would be the better choices for me.
Does next Tuesday work, the 23rd?
I can't tell you yet because we may have to do
How
a
about I send out
presentation.
an email after the meeting and we can pick a date on email?
All right, then the following Tuesday be fine. It's just this coming Tuesday is not likely to be good. Everything goes right.
So Tuesday, March 2nd?
Sure, that would probably be fine with me. I don't know. How about anybody else?
That works for me.
That works. Didn't we just schedule another meeting like the 3rd?
The 4th.
The 4th.
one for the 4th? So that would be 2 in 1 week.
We can make the following week. How about what you said? The second would be the 9th.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we do it tonight?
So then
Okay.
the
That
9th,
works.
6 o'clock?
No, definitely later, 7.
Okay, 9th at 7.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the main topic will be the grant.
Yeah.
The scope of the grant is going to depend in part on what the engineer said. Now, Tom, can we get the engineer's cost included in the grant?
I don't know. I'm the guy that bought a tent that got disallowed.
Yes, but it's such a nice tent.
I'm not a good person to, I think that's probably something that you might want to seek opinion from Tim Burke or something, who also gave me the advice that the tent would be allowed, but whatever.
So it looks, just in what I read, looking over it quick, it looks like you kind of get engineering information up front of applying for the grant. So I don't know if you retroactively get money from the grant to pay for that stuff, but then if you don't get the grant, you still need to pay for that stuff, I'm assuming. So we can talk about that more in depth at the meeting, but it seems like you need to have money to cover those costs.
Yeah,
Well, the engineer would also do the designing. So in order for us to specify what we want to do, we need to get somebody who's qualified to figure out what we would need to do and then approximately what it would cost and supply us with justification, budget, something to put into the grant request.
Right. So I'm saying that I think we have to pay for that service, obviously, ahead of applying for the grant. And I'm not sure if we could use grant money to cover those expenses that we have already incurred, or, and if you don't get the grant, then obviously you spent that money already.
I would guess you might be able to count it toward your cost share. Like the grant doesn't pay for the whole thing. We got to pay for some of it, and percentages depend on whether you're impoverished or what it's for. So I would imagine retroactively that you could count it as part of your share. The downside of that is if they disallow the grant, you've already spent it, but it might be nice to know how weak the floor is anyway.
Right.
It wouldn't be nice. It wouldn't be nice to have a plan to do something that you're not going to get funding for, but it would be nice to see how strong the floor was.
Yeah. That
Well, I
makes,
mean, I'm sorry.
But because
We've
there's a
identified-
noticeable snag where the shelves are in the middle of the kids' room. So who knows? Maybe we're going to find out even without having to do anything.
Yeah, if we went and jumped up and down on it, we could test it.
Sounds like maybe keep talking about this during the next meeting since we're getting close to time, and
yeah.
we can hash out those details.
So March 9th, we will talk about the grants. Okay.
Scott, do you have any fundraising plans coming up or anything to say for the fundraising committee?
Yes, I do. One, thank you for everyone's help in putting this thing together. Robin, you were fabulous. Other people did. Those strawberries were just like awesome, Rebecca. They looked so good. I was regretting that we were so busy we didn't order any of them. Everything looked really good. And I thought for putting something together so quickly, I thought we did a fabulous job. So I'm going to suggest that the library get a food truck and give up selling books. And basically, that's just sort of what we'll just park it out front. It's going to be awesome. We have a parking lot, and sort of like it could be just permanent fundraising. But but moving right along. I think Rebecca suggested something for Easter, which might make some sense. The other thing, when COVID comes down, I think we ought to have a monthly brunch, maybe a book club and a brunch, and people can come and eat, and maybe after you can have a book discussion or something like that. I think that would be probably fairly successful, particularly if we could marry it to something library-ish other than eating. I mean, you need to eat to read, but that's sort of a tenuous connection.
But it would be a fundraiser though, not just a program where we invite everyone to come in and eat and read together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be everything. It'd be programmatic, raising funds, just like more.
As long as it's not problematic.
Do we run into the problem that we were going to run into with when we were doing the soup sale that we wanted to do?
The answer to that question is no, because while the Department of Agriculture and Markets is concerned about people poisoning other people through off-site or on-site sales for off-site consumption, apparently the state legislators weren't particularly interested with not-for-profit organizations and religious organizations poisoning their own in-house. So that's the way the law is set up. It makes absolutely no sense, but we can do stuff and serve stuff on premises, which we couldn't serve for off-premises consumption.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have to excuse myself because I just got an ambulance call. So.
Oh boy.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Hope all's well.
Bye. Bye-bye. That's all I got.
Okay, so that's for when we go back to in-person activities.
Yeah, well, but I think, the next major holidays, Easter, and maybe another food event. People said nice things about this one. People were very cheerful as they picked up their food.
And we got
more enthusiastic. Like, this is a great idea.
That was before they tried it, though.
Ew.
we had some people requesting recipes for Scott's Windsor cookies and
The
mini
Galette.
galette. So
We could at some point put together like a library trustee cookbook to sell.
Oh, good idea.
I like a calendar. Yeah.
we'll have pictures of Scott laying on your counter with your bread and galettes all around.
Oh, I'm not going there.
So
We just make sure that we make the recipes wrong so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and have people never buy our stuff again.
No, to the contrary, that would drive sales. People will try it, and they can't recreate the fabulous things that we make.
Right.
That's just like an evil marketing ploy.
So we're not going to have an in-person Easter party this year, but if we did, it was scheduled for, I can't remember if it's a Saturday or Sunday now. Saturday, 3rd. So are you saying that we want to plan a bake sale fundraiser for that day?
I didn't say that, but that sounds like a good idea.
That's the day before Easter. I don't know if that makes a difference for people, but.
Yeah, the only thing we were gonna do like a grab and go Easter thing for the kids. I don't know if it can be combined or if it's too many people coming and going or.
I think it could be beneficial to have it combined. If people are coming to the library to pick up one or the other, it might support both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll have whatever we plan for the Easter party and a bake sale fundraiser that day. And we have plenty of time to plan that.
Start cooking now.
Hey, Scott, maybe you could do a virtual program about maple sugaring.
Ooh.
For me, that sounds like it's like watching paint dry, but I mean, I'm probably an artisan, but I can discourage people from trying.
Or you could do a baking show.
Pardon?
A baking show, since you're so good at that.
Right. My house looks like a horror show when I cook.
It's more fun to watch. That's what people want to see.
Well, I can't drop the stuff on the floor anymore.
Okay, thank you for planning that. The next committee report is the nominating committee, which I nominated Rebecca for. She was so grateful. So we don't have a report on this yet. This is planning ahead for the annual meeting. So I think I'll just start another email chain with that, and you guys can fill in with ideas that we had about potential trustees, or if you have an idea about somebody who you think might like to be included in or head a friends group. I'd like to tackle both of those things at the same time. So we can add our ideas to that, and Rebecca will contact people for us. Do you have anything else to add to that, Rebecca?
No, no.
Okay. So moving on to the youth committee report. Everybody already knows that we're going to be planning something virtual, or not virtual really, but some kind of grab and go thing for the Easter party. Jen came up with a great long list of ideas the other day that she sent out to us. So we were going to plan a date to get together and talk about that. Do you have dates in mind for that, Rebecca?
I am open most days except Wednesday and Wednesday evenings. You know, I guess I would just open it up if anybody wants to help with the youth committee. You're welcome to. It's been kind of in the past, so kind of if you're interested, come help. If not, that's okay. So I don't know if people want to shoot out dates now that they would like, or if you just want to email me if you're interested, and we'll work out a time to meet. Basically, I see the Easter event. We have a small budget for the Easter event, usually about $200. I see putting together some type of grab and go activity for kids to come take, maybe with treats and crafts in it. We do have an Easter bunny suit, but I'm welcome to any other ideas also.
Rebecca, we can look into getting books, like bulk order of books from Scholastic. I've gotten, I'm part of that now. I haven't ordered yet, but we have to order a little bit ahead of time. But that's something we could talk about at the meeting.
Right, right.
Do you want to meet sometime next week?
Sure. Daytime, nighttime, I'm free anytime except Wednesdays.
It seems like usually those of us who come to that are available during the day. Does Monday or Tuesday work?
Yep.
Tuesday is the summer reading workshop planning meeting, so I'm going to be at that probably all day. It's virtual, but it's still going to be an all day thing, so Tuesday doesn't work for me.
Monday?
Monday's good.
Jen, did you want to come to that?
I'll come to that, sure. Monday's good.
Does 10 o'clock work?
Yep.
Yep.
Also, in far as youth committee, it's way off in the future, but there has been chatter on Facebook with different summer camp organizations about what people are doing for summer camp. It's not something I'm really prepared to discuss right now, but just for people to start thinking about what our response might be to that, because it will come up soon.
Yeah, in fact, the governor just released guidance, or the DOH released guidance about opening up summer camps and entertainment venues and whatever. And so there's going to be plenty of pressure to run the camp. I think that the real issue is, given what our facility is, we're going to have to figure out what we can do safely.
Right.
Because this is, I think, a challenge given the small size of the facility.
Yeah, I don't have an answer either way. It just occurred to me that within the next month or so, it will be something we'll have to discuss. So people start.
I'll pull guidance for you guys and see what the OH has published. I just saw the press release going out Friday.
Thanks, Scott. And thank you, Rebecca. So the last committee report is the building committee. And we lost Tom. Kim, did we get a bill for the plumbing work?
Not yet, and I wanted to actually just ask about that, because I know we talked about taking that bill, the money out of that, using it from the special projects or the something that we had, but we also have another line that we have $1,500 in specifically for repairs for the building. So that would just need to be decided whether or not we use that money or if we go dip into the special projects money.
I don't think it's a special project. I think it's definitely just a repair and maintenance item. Well, he left, the plumber left what he repaired on the counter there, and it was simply a valve that had rotted away. And so that is not a capital project by any means.
And sorry, Kim, are you talking about the repair budget that's under the umbrella of special projects, or do we have another separate repair line still?
We have a separate repair line.
What number is that?
It is facility repairs. So it's under 5168.
Oh, right.
And it's under, I mean, we've used $36 out of the 1,500 so far.
Yeah, so I say we go with that first, since that was a small repair and not like a whole new furnace or something.
Right.
And I know Tom said that the hope was that once that that all dries out, the floor will even out again, and hopefully we won't have to replace anything. That's at least what he was telling me.
Yeah, that's what he told me too. It could take some time, so I guess, I don't know, sometime early next week, maybe we can check on it and see what it's looking like. And he may have already done that. Tom and I talked about that the other day, and he said he was going to go check on it, but anyway, we'll keep an eye on that.
It's just in that cabinet, correct? Where it was worked?
In front of the cabinet.
Yes, it's just, oh, it's in front of the cabinet too?
Yeah.
Outside in the public area?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how we realized something was wrong.
So we'll see what happens with that as it has time to dry out. Does anyone have any old business for tonight? I don't either. There's no public comment. Any new business?
I have new business.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share that there is a virtual 5K run for Bob Smith. If anybody's a runner or knows people who are runners, it was advertised on the school site. I'm not sure if it's the one that the school always puts on, but it's called Smitty's Shamrock Run, and it does raise money for the school's Bob Smith Scholarship Fund. So I just wanted to share that in case anyone is interested. I can pass along the website if you are.
That would be great. Is it so Shamrock? So it's for whatchamacallit?
St. Patrick's
Well,
Day?
no, because it starts May 1st. I'm not really sure the connection.
Is the
But
shamrocks are growing then?
It's something you can do, you know, obviously it's virtual on your own. You can either do the 5K all at once, or you can break it up into smaller allotments. Basically, it's just a fundraiser for that scholarship under his name.
Thanks. Ed, were you going to say something for new business?
Yeah, I was trying to count up and I lost count at somewhere near 50, the number of emails that I have piled up from about the library board. And I would very much like to figure out how we could reduce that. One thing occurred to me was that, you know, we have a director who's very capable, everybody likes, and is convinced, you know, and handles the job. So I don't know that we need to get information like, gee, I decided to close the library because of the storm or the heat went out or whatever. So I think something more that would be appropriate just to put into the director's report that I had to close it 2 days because we had storms this year. And then just leave it at that, because it's certainly something she's qualified to decide. And maybe, you know, we can do some of the other things and people don't have to say, gee, and discuss it and say, yes, good call, or that kind of thing. And just acknowledge, don't even acknowledge it, just as a fact, leave it at that. Because I think, you know, we just get too much stuff. And I personally can't read it all. And I have a light color and dark color, and at least half of the messages are still dark color that I have never seen them. So I throw that out as something we should be thinking about, is how do we reduce the quantity of messages?
I've had that same thought before, and I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, but I feel like specifically the email chains about easy stuff like the library closing, you look at it, you know what's happening, you delete it. But there are a lot of other emails going around for committees and things like that. So I guess if somebody's up with a solution, we can talk about that.
Well, I mean, one thing is the idea of having committees is not everybody has to be on every committee.
Right.
So maybe keep the committee emails to people who are on the committees, and people who are not get the report at the board meeting.
And I think that for the most part, that's happening. So I don't have any other ideas about that for now.
Yeah,
It is sort of a universal perennial problem that doesn't ever seem to have a great answer wherever it comes up, but it's something good to think about, I think,
Yeah.
before we send something.
And some of it's internal. You say, gee, do I really have to respond to this? And if the answer is no, don't. That would be the easy, easy first step.
That makes sense. Anything else before we get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No, I was going to do that.
Would you like to second it, Ed?
I'll second it.
Thank
Stole
you.
my thunder.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries, meeting adjourned at 9:17. Thank you guys for hanging.